As I'm going to talk about the Online Safety Act and also Stop Killing Games as a whole, because I believe that both of them are basically the repeal and so yeah, basically the repeal and the Stop Killing Games are both equally as bad. And trust me, it's absolute dog shit. Because simply, if you implement the ratification of the Online Safety Act, there'll be a major disadvantage. That is simply that we won't make sure that the average children or basically kids would be safe from pornography. Basically, pornography, NSFW, basically anything of the sort will basically be allowed to be seen by the average child. And it's actually getting worse because simply as more children access the internet, well, they're gonna access pornography. And before this act went into place, right, children were allowed to see pornography. Children were seen to also see much more terrible and disgusting stuff, like gruesome, like murders, like self harm, cyber flashing, like pretty much child sexual abuse. Like this actually goes into like Discord type thing. Basically, all of this was pretty much protecting like the children and everyone in the youth in the UK. It pretty much protected everyone, but yet it is seen as an advantage. Like it's seen as more of a censorship. Like especially for Stop Killing Games because they've been heavily supporting it. Like no, that right, but they also made up this one paragraph which in my opinion, is heavily exaggerated and is mostly used as a manipulation technique. And trust me, this will actually, in fact, lead to the shutdown of this petition. You may go like, why the fuck is been shut down? You can blame me on Stop Killing Games because Social over here decided to just simply use this one paragraph to simply manipulate the average citizen in order to simply sign this. And basically, and not that right, but they also made it so right that people are heavily glorified. So basically, people are literally using this in order to not only manipulate, but also to express how important this is. Manipulation has just been chucked and fucking kept on being chucked at this post until like it cannot be fitted anymore, and it is fucking still rolling through. Like every single fucking second is like an increase of that singular digit from a person who has unexpectedly and unfortunately signed this. Because simply this small paragraph is just purely fucking manipulation. Let's just ask ChatGPT. Like the main problem with the Online Safety Act, it is too vague. Like for example, extreme pornography and extreme sexual violence are both so vague to the point that it could cover anything. It feels like this act is pretty much being heavily criticized on. It's because they're doing it on roadblocks on us. They're simply using the act and making it vague so much to the point that it makes it nearly impossible for someone like us to simply understand the difference between like pornography and extreme pornography, like sexual violence and extreme sexual violence, like uh pretty much intimate image abuse and image abuse. Like there's so much fake shit, and what it needs is pretty much needs to be rewritten and be acted on again, because the general idea is to simply prevent children from seeing pornography and also to prevent the average UK citizen from see any of this, and not that right, but also protect the average UK citizen from all of this. Pretty much anything that is absolutely dog shit. Pretty much anything that is absolutely wrong with the modern world, but do the fucking internet. And basically, it's gonna cover like. But there's also criminal offences that have been introduced by the act that in 2024 that basically encourage committing self-harm, cyber flashing, which is vague because we don't know what the fuck cyber flashing is, sending false information intended to cause non-trivial harm, which is pretty much the most vaguest and pretty much the worst thing they ever put in this. Like, I feel as if this was mostly caused everyone to sit beside this because of the UK themselves. Like, for example, this needs to be removed or rewritten. That's the communication. It could be anything. Intimate image abuse, and it kind of sounds as if I'm supporting it. It's because, right, it's so hard to see this as a disadvantage. It's more like an advantage, but at the same time, right, they made it so vague to the point that in any situation they could just simply refer to this online act that has been implemented in this year to simply put charges onto people who basically sent threatening communications or like. But epilepsy trolling is good, really, because this this is not funny. This is absolutely terrible, and this is just something that could actually cause someone to have a seizure and then fucking die because they could like eventually hit their head on something absolutely sharp if they see like epilepsy, because epilepsy is a medical issue caused by screens, and the UK doing this makes sure that they actually care about the health and safety of the UK citizen. Basically, the act requires all companies to take robust action against illegal content and activity, which basically forces like companies like Roblox and social media platforms and the other platforms to simply make sure, right, that any illegal shit is removed swiftly. Like, for example, condo games, because that's literally illegal because it's children in get introduced and get intimate in sexual acts and pretty much straight up child sex, but through the platform, which is kind of like a grey area. But if you say it like it's in a common sense way, then like it is literally absolutely terrible. And basically, the act sets out a list of priority offences. Basically, these are all the offences that the content related to. Child sexual abuse, that is good. Controlling or coercive behavior, like for example, the Sportism cult. That whole cult was made by two people who basically controlled or used coercive behavior to simply control their members in order to do like intimate acts, like show their nude bodies, or simply cause them to cause bodily harm. Extreme sexual and extreme pornography, like I covered beforehand, real fucking vague. Fraud, so like if you do something kind of like scummy, is actually like um basically like makes it kind of like illegal online. Racially or religiously aggravated public order offenses, like I don't know, like ISIS maybe. Like this is also vague. Inciting violence, which pretty much is like pretty much like from the internet, like anyone could say anything, and inciting violence seems like a good thing. Like for example, like with Roblox and the terrorist one, where a terrorist joined a church game and said to everyone, "Right, I'm gonna go to the US. I'm gonna commit a terrorist act." Illegal immigration and people smuggling. This is probably has to do with the already ongoing issue with illegal immigration, especially from like third world countries, like or like third world countries, like for example like Syria or the Middle East, like immigrated into the country. Like Birmingham's a shit ton of them. Like Birmingham just attracts them. Promoting or facilitating suicide, which is also good. Image abuse, intimate image abuse. This could just be like pornography, but I don't know why I had to mention it again. Selling illegal drugs or weapons. Also good, just so that there'll be like this also supports like radically aggravated public order offense and inciting violence. On top of that, sexual exploitation kind of goes with sexual abuse and street sexual violence, and terrorism, which pretty much goes with anything, to be honest. And this also goes particularly towards children, that is harmful, pretty much content that is harmful to children, like pornography. This is primary pornography. Any content that encourages self-harm, eating disorder, or suicide, which in my opinion, lovely, fucking lovely. but the priority is bullying, abusive content, which in my opinion is sounds good, but like to be honest though, trolling could just make you go to jail, which is absolutely shit. Like I feel like as if like what this act is simply going to be. I hope to God what the UK is going to use this act for is in extreme cases where people are getting abused. Like, instead of like small cases where they're mostly just using the act in order to simply censor people. Like, it could be used in both spectrums, and yeah, it is shit really, but we have to just find out how the UK is gonna use this act because we don't know how they're gonna use it, but how it sounds like it just simply gonna give people give them like a refer, not a refer, but like inferring from it, like what they're pretty much gonna use it for, like for example like censoring media, which the media is already censored to begin with, but like still though, like it's gonna be like censored even more if they use this for the extreme, like if they just gonna use it for like everything for like an extreme case instead of just use it for only like extreme cases. But they also want bullying, like all of this. But age appropriate experiences for children online. This might as well just be saying Roblox, we're coming for that ass. The act requires social media companies and it should be gaming companies to enforce age limits consistently and protect their child users. Which, in my opinion, should be the act. Roblox. Like, I don't know why Roblox ain't mentioned here because Roblox is the main. Like, this must have just been mentioned in Roblox because Roblox has been doing nothing but allowing condo games and soft condo games onto the platform for pretty much their whole fucking life. Services must assess any risk to children from using their platform and set an appropriate age restriction so that children only have age appropriate experiences and shielded from harmful content, which I support because trust me, no child wants to be unexpectedly flashed with nudity or sexual outfits or sexual shit, which in my opinion actually supports it. Like, I hope to God, like, when this is implemented, that this will survive anyone who's seen as over 18 is they over 18 and basically it doesn't affect them, but instead it affects anyone else who recently signed up to be on social media who is pretty much seen to be underneath the age of 18. Certain provider who use measures to prevent access to their services for children under certain age was specialized in their terms of service. So like pretty much any other fucking terms of service, like for example like Roblox or Discord where you need to be a certain age in order to access the platform, and pretty much it's common sense really what measures are being used to enforce the age limit and what and enforce this constantly. Now, for example, if you're on Discord and say that you're 12 years old, you are banned immediately because you're under the age, and then you have to send like your face and an ID next to it to fucking Discord. And adults have more control of the content they will see, which I actually support because trust me, I do not want to see NSFW. Like NSFW has been the fucking shittest shit show of social media. Like I've rather see like I like SFW content, but NSFW is kind of shit that got like it could fuck someone's life up. Like it fucks someone's social media. Like it come from me, right? Who saw pornography. As soon as you see it when you're young, right, you will not talk to women for days because you always have that shit in your mind. You have that shit remembered in your mind. And it's absolutely terrible. And trust me, I've been off of it for years right now. And I would never go back to it because simply I want to have friends who I actually love and love me back equally. Go to control what the content. Adult users of such services will be able to verify their identities and access to which enable to reduce the likelihood they see content from non-verified users and prevent non-verified users interacting with their content. So this could be by that it would also prevent like spam or bot content to be shown towards people who are verified, but it also prevents like minors or pretty much people who are very young to be seen by these adult accounts, which can be seen in both advantage and a disadvantage way. Like, yeah, sure, it's kind of censoring it, but it's mostly just to do with like spam because people ain't gonna like put the time and effort in order to make a bunch of accounts. Then after that, put ID verification on top of that, just so that it can actually be verified and use this in order to simply verify themselves and spam themselves across Instagram. On top of this, it will also make it so that um, but following the publications and guidance of Category 1 searches, which also need to offer adult users optional tools, at the first opportunity to help them reduce the likelihood they encounter certain types of illegal content, which which are content which I do not get. This one is kind of vague. These categories of content set out in the Act include content that does not meet a criminal threshold but encourages promoting instruction for suicide, self-harm, eating disorders, which I mentioned again, which uh, basically they'll try and say like we want to make sure that the likelihood of seeing this content is low as possible. Like you don't want anyone to see this illegal shit. Like I think dark humor is still legal, but we don't want them to actually just learn about the illegal shit, which is actually quite good. Like they're actually quite good. These tools are applied to abusive or hateful. Controls also apply to abusive or hate content, including where suspicious content is raised. Okay, this is just going off the fucking hinges. You remove this. Racist, anti-Semitic, homophobic, or misogynist, which is pretty much what I am on the fucking Instagram page. You're literally telling Instagram to go nuke themselves. This is absolute dog shit. Absolute dog shit. I think they've just removed this because this is terrible. I feel as if everything else was fine, but this is just going off the rails. It basically, right, it does not need to be removed, it needs to be rewritten. It needs to be fucking rewritten because simply it being removed is more of a disadvantage than it being rewritten. Because if it goes rewritten, it will not only defend children from NSW and all the bad shit, but it also defends adults of the same type of content if they choose not to want to see it. But yet, it also makes so much is the less likelihood of seeing any of this, which on Instagram is like gold content. It's like Hog Rider made out of gold. Like, is that? The I will tackle suicide self harm, which it literally just says in the past fucking like to offer term service, which is say they will remove ultra content or suspend users. Basically, making so like that it will restrict your content and ban you. If a service says it prohibits illegal, suicidal, self-harm content, that requires them to enforce its terms consistently and transparently. So basically, right, it says like we ain't gonna allow any sort of suicide or self-harm content. They need to enforce it based on if what they say as a consequence to that content. Now, for example, we do not allow this content. Here's the consequences that we enforce on it. How the act will be enforced? Basically, Alcon is now the regulators online safety and will make sure the platforms are protecting their users. Once the new duties are in effect, following Alcon's formation of the final code of guidance, platforms have to show they have processes in place to meet the requirements set out by the Act. Alcon will remind how effective those processes protect the internet users from harm. Basically, Ofcom will pretty much not censor, but pretty much look over like it's pretty much going over like the major social media platforms. So like any other platform that is under duty, like underground type shit, like under the fucking ground, and not even know about Ofcom themselves, cause simply like bypass this. And basically, what Ofcom's gonna do is basically make companies like Discord or Roblox or Twitter or something. But basically, they will have to make sure that they are 100% not allowing people to not even not allowing people, but also making sure that people are also like how would I say this? Like also make sure that they don't like make sure that how effective it is, just so that they don't allow like children to see like pornography and make sure the act is acted upon. And you maybe go like, what if they don't do this? What if they fucking ignore it? They could be fined up to 80 million or 10% of their qualifying worldwide revenue. So basically, or whichever is greater. So basically, you can be fined up to 80 million or a 10% of your basically your fucking revenue, which is pretty much collected worldwide, which is absolute dog shit. As not dog shit, but it's gonna be an absolute scare towards like all these social media platforms. Basically, following like qualifying right, which could actually be taken against senior managers if failed to ensure companies follow information requests from Ofcom. So basically, you could be charged if you don't follow this act with criminal actions. So like, if like for example, like basically people in the senior roles of like Discord, for example, could be like sent to jail because simply they didn't follow what Ofcom wants, pretty much. Ofcom will also be able to hold companies and senior management where they are fault criminally liable if the provider fails to comply with Ofcom's enforcement notices in relation to specifically child safety duties or child safety. Basically, this is good. This sentence is good. Basically, it will hold the company and the senior people liable if child pornography or child exploitation or anything to do with a child that is pretty much illegal liable, which is, in my opinion, I fucking support. In the most two cases where the agreement of the court, Ofcom will be able to require payment providers, advertisers, and the internet service providers to start working with their site, preventing it from generating money or being access from the UK. Basically, putting direct, I kid you not, direct fucking censorship on these websites. This is terrible. And the most extreme cases, this needs to be removed. This needs to be. There's multiple things that need to be removed. This needs to be removed also because simply what this would do is that they have the option in order to the Ofcom has the option in order to make sure my ISPs, basically your fucking internet service provider, the payment provider, and the advertiser providers will start working with the website. And you may go like, where have I heard payment providers from? If you heard of Collective Shout, which trust me, it is absolute dog shit. You know for a fact, right? They use payment providers in order to simply censor Steam. And basically, right, now, right, payment providers pretty much get involved in shit, right, that pretty much they don't even want to get involved in. And therefore, right, they're pretty much manipulating them in order to simply remove content. Like, it is shit. Like, this is just shit. How the act affect companies that are not based in the UK? Basically, this is going for like companies that are based in the UK, in the US. Like for example, like Discord. The act gives Ofcom the power they need to take public action against all companies in scope, no matter where they are based. Where services have relevant links with the UK. This means services significant number of UK users or where users of the target market, and so other target in scope. Basically, uh, it affects everyone. It's shooting everyone. It's aiming the fucking RPG at everyone. It's launching its virtual nukes at everyone. And how the act will tackle harmful algorithms. Basically, the act requires providers to specifically consider how algorithms can impact users' exposure to basically exposed to illegal content and the children exposure content that is harmful to children for the risk of their risk assessment. So basically, right, they're gonna have a risk assessment based on what the adults see and what the children see. But I don't know who would count as an adult and who counts as a child on social media. Like, would someone 13 and above be counted as an adult? Like, or would it be based on like common sense and be like anyone over 18 will be counted as an adult? That would be based on that. So basically, you have to take in a risk assessment based on both places just to see how the algorithm acts, and basically, then providers will need to take steps to mitigate them, effectively manage any identified risks. So pretty much, they need to have this risk assessment. Then after that, make sure that it's low as possible, like low, 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 which is absolutely good. This includes considering their platform's design, functionality, algorithm, and other features that need to be. Basically, how the platform works needs to be. Like, people are asking the actual social media platforms themselves to simply not only change it, but to simply like that they will have to pretty much change the platform and change how it works it and pretty much the overall look of it, if it would make it so right that it would prevent like children from simply seeing these illegal content like suicide or pornography or sexual abuse. The law also makes it clear that harm can arise from the way content is this is meant to this is I ain't gonna say that word because I don't know how to say it. It's such a where algorithm repeatedly pushes content into a child in long volumes of a sort based in time. Which pretty much is kind of like a good thing, but at the wrong time because they could have implemented this at the start of TikTok, but now it is absolutely too fucking late. Like we got too deep into this rust bucket of a shithole, and now I mean, cannot just stop looking deep in it. Congress basically um, this makes so much that they will also need to basically decrease the amount of content shown to children and pretty much commit like to a fucking like Wii game, like game made by Nintendo. Got like, oh right, you played too much. Go outside and touch some grass type shit. Congress services will also be required to publish annual transparency reports containing online safety, which is absolutely good, by the way. Absolutely good, because trust me, multiple social media platforms, especially recently, have not been publishing transparency reports and basically hiding them from the public. And this is good. This just sounds absolute shit now, doesn't it? Because it pretty much does a lot of shitty things that basically what basically Stop Killing Games doesn't want you to know. Even though Social fucking runs it, he represents Stop Killing Games because he's a coordinator. How the act protects women and girls. When too much harmful legal online content, this probably affects women and girls, and the Act requires platforms to proactively tackle this. Legal content including harassment, stalking, controlling consensual behavior, extreme pornography, and impotent imagery. So pretty much everything I can say in the past fucking year in this fucking platform. All users and search services have the duty to put in place system and process to read this content when it's flagged to them, which is absolutely good. So basically, if your content has any of this content, harassment, stalking, all this, right, that it needs to be flagged and removed. Content that will be set out in Ofcom's code of practice. When developing this code, Ofcom will be required to consult with the Victim Commissioner, the Abuse Commission, to guarantee that the voices of views of women and girls are reflected. So basically, the opinions of the women, girls, and girls, but no boys and males for some reason, like kind of shitty, you know, kind of shitty. Like not mentioning boys and men, but instead mentioning women and girls is more important. So the video must have cut or something, and I was quite tired, so I had to take a nice long break. So basically, there's a draft, and we talk about all of this. So now we're going to talk about this. So the Act also requires Aqua to use guidance, summarizes one clear place that measure can tackle abuse that women and girls disproportionate face online, which is quite biased because it also doesn't talk about men and boys that suffer similar things. It kind of feels as if like this, like even though it's talking about women and girls, it's kind of like really adding like a bias to it, like as if like boys and men don't matter and women and girls matter, which is kind of feministic, especially in a law that is meant to basically prevent children from seeing pornography. Like, is there kind of like a bias where you go like, oh right, boys and men are not going to be censored while women and girls are going to be censored? It kind of feels like Sharia law. It kind of feels like something that a fucking Islam country or a fucking country that supports Islam like would actually put. Like it kind of feels like if Birmingham was the UK, like and basically and then on 25th February, Ofcom posted draft guidance for consultation. These guidance will be subject to 12-week consultation with finalized guidance published by the end of the year. So it's going to be having like a finalized guidance by the end of the year. That is around like December, where it's going to be like a clear guidance that is gonna be followed by all companies. Now currently it's on, but there's finishing up some couple things that are gonna be happening. So pretty much by 2026, it will fully be implemented with the guidelines and the guidances and everything else will actually be fully implemented, which basically shows that it needs to be repealed ASAP because if they can use anything in this to simply put in their guidance, it's gonna be absolutely terrible because it's gonna, because especially the racism part, because the racism part is absolutely terrible because simply we cannot, because yeah, it's pretty much this racist quote, like if this gets into the guidelines we're fucked because simply right this is because we all enjoy racist content, we all love racism content, but yet if they're gonna put this in the guidance it's gonna be absolute dog shit. How does the act tackle misinformation? This information is basically online safety act takes proportional approaches to mis and disinformation by focusing on addressing the grave risk of harm to user while protecting freedom of expression. Quite ironic because you've been doing nothing but just fucking that shit up with the fucking racist, misogynistic, anti-Semitic quote. Like, it kind of feels as if they go like, oh right, we're not trying to mute freedom of expression, but we kind of are if you think about it. Like, we're making so that racism is illegal. Like, that is shit, you know. Like, mis and disinformation will be captured by the Online Safety Act, where it's legal or harmful children. Basically, it's gonna. This is the mis this the Online Safety Act is gonna capture the mis and disinformation, where it's basically legal or harmful to children. So basically, it's illegal to spread misinformation to children. Basically. But this makes it extremely terrible now because this makes it sound like that if any information becomes incorrect, the algorithm is gonna alter. So this is absolutely terrible also because simply, like, even though it's good just to not make sure that children don't get like this information, but it also makes it sound like that we can't. This also makes it sound like that if like, here's the situation. You spend like you publish like a video or like a post about some information that becomes falsified. The algorithm promotes it to children and adults. Do you get arrested and get banned for something that was not changed based on the information provided, but based on what the company does? So pretty much what companies are going to do, right, is their algorithm is going to change massively just so that information based videos are going to simply be pushed behind just so that people don't get like randomly arrested for like spreading information. Category one services also need to be researched in terms of misinformation. But I don't know what category one services are. It still doesn't tell them. Like, and here's like a bunch of other shit. Torture. Fuck. Independent view, pornography. This key. There's a lot of shit. That's literally like. And who that applies to? Well, it applies to pretty much all services. To let's see, yeah, that's mostly everything really. Like that's what all the Online Safety Act really explains. But to be honest though, let's see the role of CON is the independent regular online safety. But to be honest, that's everything to do with Online Safety Act. You can read them in the link description down below, and I will actually recommend them yourself. But let's actually talk about the main subject. Social, or AKA, um, basically spreading misinformation. Uh, Not that right, but I also have proof. So basically, you must have looked at that and gone like, where the fuck does it mention US or USA? Like, where does it mention that? It does not mention it at all within the act, right? But somehow it's mentioned in here. I do not know why it's mentioned or where I don't know why it's simply mentioned, but it is mentioned. Like, this is absolutely misinformation. I know that right, but honest to a fucking sentence like this while being fancy side like this and totally can be like Like basically, it's kind of like sarcasm and over bloating it. Like, yeah, sure, data's gonna get spread around, but it's just mostly because the people themselves ain't gonna do shit. I'm on Unity 360 now, and of course I ain't gonna get support because social wants me to do it in about 2 years when I'm about 18. But in the 2 years, I have to make sure that everything's set up correctly. Well, people I don't have a constitution, have everything else ready, just so that simply when the 2 years come up, I have enough supporters and enough people just so I could go on to stage two immediately, and then after that, right, I get voted in, and then yada 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 yada. And it's just shit, really. Like, basically, if you like put this through ChatGPT, which I did, like I put it through ChatGPT, like it goes all the way up here. Yeah, basically, this when he dates he date, and it says like contains mix of truth, exaggeration, and satire, which the third-party verification companies like Persona and Yoti should not verifications under the Online Safety Act, but to be likely handled by a private third-party company like Persona and Yoti. The company remains abroad, but and if they handle data in the and if they handle data in the US, GDPR protection don't apply directly unless they have a EU/UK based storage policies, which I am gonna put in the fucking chat. No, that one, but database and facial recognition, like potential, like for example, like if we go back to here first, like Persona does claim to meet GDPR, but enforcement and audibility may be limited. They even scan facial recognition potential. If the biometric data in our face scans, passport photos, live selfies collected, there's a theoretical risk that it can be repurposed for facial recognition or tracking. This sounds worrying until you realise that you're pretty much doing the same but with jobs. Like, for example, if you're gonna apply for a job, right, your data is being sent to a company that's pretty much gonna be sending it to the government. Who are you gonna trust? Like, are you gonna purposely fire yourself and become unemployed just to defend your data? Of course you're not, because you simply want to because you simply what you want to do is have a job but have privacy and security. Like, if you're gonna get fired or hired at multiple different companies, your data is at the multiple different companies, but it is actually illegal to actually keep your data unless if you're fired. Like, if you're fired, they're not allowed to keep your data and have to remove it. And this also applies towards schools and stuff. Like if you don't go to school no more, like for example, if you graduated or just left, you're not basically the school is not legally allowed to keep your data because what's the fucking point? Like they ain't return it back. And if biometric data, they're basically like, yeah, it can be repurposed unless if the itself does not abandon the creation of facial recognition databases, but unchecked age verification tech could enable it. So what does it mean by that is that certain technologies that use AI, like age verification tech, that is unchecked, could actually in fact enable this. Because like for example, like untrusted like age verification tech, like new technologies based on the age verification, like to simply check it out, could simply anyway. So yeah, unless say so basically anything that like new age verification tech could just simply enable this, aka facial recognition databases. So basically, trusted age verification tech could not enable it, but they could. But any new tech could have the risk of simply enabling it. Privacy experts like from open rights groups FFF has been considered exactly this scenario, which it's kind of truthful because we don't know if they're gonna simply delete your data. They can just say, right, we're gonna delete your data, but not proceed to delete your data and just simply sell it off to a company. Like, this data is very valuable data. This data is pretty much like having like your passport photo and your credit card details is enough in order to simply commit identity fraud against you. This data could be sold to criminals and commit identity fraud, which is absolutely terrible, and that's why like it needs to be rewritten. Just said that only age verification companies in the UK are allowed to have access to your data and not allowed to simply transfer this data or transmit this data towards outside the UK to other companies, just so that it keeps that extra security. Post be sent to Satire, your passport biometrics be sent to US. This is automatically universal, it just depends how the company the site chooses for verification and how the age verification is implemented. If a UK based system is used, it may say UK or EU. That is simply like if it needs to be sent overseas to a server in the US, yeah, sure your data is being sent to the US. But it just depends how the company just simply works with their age verification system. Like multiple companies have multiple ways of simply checking out like how old are you via age verification, and they do it in multiple different ways, but they're very similar. Like, but how they do it is quite different. Like one company could just keep it in the UK, while another company could just simply transfer it over to the US. Know when to order what's happening to the data. Not true in the legal sense that GDPR is still applicable. Requires company to disclose how the data is processed, how it's retained, and how users can request deletion, which is actually quite good because simply, if you want to simply delete the data right afterwards, you could just simply request it based on how the company gives you instructions to do so. So this is kind of like false, since you could just simply ask the company itself to simply delete your data. But enforcement is weak and cross-border auditing is hard. The court piggy spends wanting to the CIA, that's Saturn, not fact. What the committee access right tools like US Cloud Act, there's not evidence that this is done by Solar ULT especially. So basically, these two companies are basically not leaking data to the CIA, which don't even make sense to begin with because the CIA is a government body. Like, how the fuck is leaking classified information to a government body terrible? Like, it kind of feels shitty, really. Like, it's kind of like, which one would you rather? Would you rather leak your data to the US government or to a bunch of hackers that could, or a bunch of hackers in North Korea? Like, it's kind of like that, really. Like the CIA, you know for a fact that they'll have top-notch security to defend it, but the hackers in fucking North Korea could do so much damage to you compared to US, where you basically know for a fact right they ain't just gonna use your data in order to run like 500 scams and make sure that your fucking loans and to make sure that you get like 500 loans set up like immediately. That it needs to be rewritten just so that it doesn't have that sarcasm, because simply having that sarcasm just shows that they not only don't give a flying fuck, but they also just want to they want to spread misinformation just to make it over exaggerated and seem like as if this is the end of the world, which ain't really though. So yeah, this claim possibility. No GDPR protection, not fully true, no auditing possible. Um, False facial recognition tracking risks. It is plausible, but CI slash spy agency claims is uh basically terrible. And of course, right, I've checked this, and well, the statement is largely true, which I'm actually surprised. And it basically concerns shared by digital right groups that act upon duties. Basically, what the main problem with the law, it is super vague to the point that anyone could simply be arrested for what they say on the internet based on this act, and that's why it simply needs to be rewritten. Not removed at all, because if we simply gonna remove it as a whole, it is going to remove even the good parts about the law, which people are literally overwriting with pretty much all the bad shit that has also with it. And it is like, and if you go to use like UK-based storage, basically it's data storage rules like what privacy laws you can have. Basically, if the data stored in the UK, like then they'll have to follow GDPR. But if it's not, like GDPR will be hard in order to follow. But that's mostly it for the video. Like that's everything I have to say really. This might have been a long video, but I hope to God I can prove that you should trust anything that is said right in front of you. I know that right, but I'm gonna talk about this picture. You notice that there ain't a full screenshot, right? You may be going like, oh right, it is too high, all the unnecessary detail, but we do not know why you cannot view this content. Like, it could be for a reason over here. Like, if you scroll down, it could be anything to do with this or anything to do with this. Like, it could be supporting extreme sexual violence or extreme pornography, or must be like an ISIS group on Reddit. We may never know, because simply Reddit is a platform that hosts subreddits, and there's a lot of subreddits to the point that there's like a subreddit for nearly everything, and therefore, right, Reddit could just be seen be taking it down, not only based on this, but also based on their terms of service. Like, we not that right, but we also don't know if this is the same overseas. Like, this is just a simple quick screenshot that was simply just taken. Like, it's just shit, really. Like, it is like absolutely like terrible with no evidence whatsoever, and people are just blatantly citing it because simply they believe it's absolute dog shit, despite the fact they're not even reading it. Like, I believe people should read it first, see what it has to say, and see if repealing the Online Safety Act is actually good. I feel like repealing it ain't good, but rewriting it is even better. Like, repealing it is good, but rewriting it is even better, because if you rewrite it with so that we remove all the bad parts, it'll be an extremely good and effective law to prevent pornography and every single harmful content to be seen by children and adults on the internet, making it a lot more safer for us and other people who use the internet to simply surf on without seeing like extreme bestiality or rape videos, which we all don't like. Like, pretty much any illegal content we can't see. But let's actually get back to this. This could be removed based on Reddit's terms of service. Like, for example, this server must have done something that was against Reddit's terms of service, so it couldn't be removed. It also couldn't be removed because it done one of these things in it. Like, for example, r/arsonist to inciting violence, r/ illegal immigration. Like, it could be that, like, that's why it could be removed. Or it could just be like it's something absolutely terrible. Like, there's no real reason or simply knowing what happened behind this server. Like, you could just know for a fact it could be removed by Reddit itself, or basically the rules that have been set in place, but it's not censoring. It's just simply removing content that is illegal or could be illegal, but we don't have enough information since the screenshot is cut off, which is kind of sketchy because this screenshot is currently like fueling this repeal. Like, this repeal was posted, and this what happened to it. It literally bloated over 100,000. It is shit. I believe like, what they could have done is simply not only if reworded. So let's actually just check it out. So I'll put this because I want to put everything through it, and basically, apparently, it's true. Like, apparently, it's largely valid, but certainly is down to speculative, which just shows right that they're just gonna throw some bias and accusations into it while putting some truth into it. And if you're gonna mix truth with speculation and simply false information, you're part of the problem, because simply mixing it up will not only generate confusion, but it will also make it so that they will have a bias against it, because simply this is telling people who simply not read the act themselves, because they believe the act is simply terrible, even though right it is good, but with some terrible acts that simply make it not even too vague, but pretty much on borderline censoring content and controlling the algorithm just so that it filters out like harmful or even illegal content, which is also another good thing. Like, because we don't want to go to Instagram and see like, oh right, here's a platform to promote like fake IDs, because like that shit is illegal. I guess what? US companies like Instagram and stuff won't do anything about it, because simply they legally are allowed to do anything, because simply the UK government didn't specify about this. That that the government says we're safe to. Yep, it's true. Talking law talking about the porn. It is true. people can access sport forms is partially true. Like, I've conquered exempt many sport forms from strict regulation, which in particular forms that are support forms, for example. But even dangerous ones per recommended guidelines, but like criticizing these harmful content unchecked. Like, some don't have to be manually checked just to see if it's a support form or not, which is also good just to see like as kind of like an appealing option. Used by protesters or to get sensitive to violent. True in some cases. Now verify a postal process or message being blocked due to failed aid verification or sensitive media restriction. Even when it's legally posted, which absolutely dog shit, and it's just simply the censoring of the internet. People with access to support networks are at increased risk. Potentially accurate. But the filter can limit access to support. So yeah, it is kind of true, really. Like, but we could shove a lot of things in here, but it is over biased, and some of it, especially this one, is literally incorrect or borderline false. So I wanted to simply reword it just so it's now a lot more straightforward, but just make it so right that it's simply like not false, because I could just simply put in a report and shut down this petition just for this paragraph alone. This paragraph just could just show that it's simply misinformation, because I could say, right, alright, people believe like this is terrible because they're telling them that the data's been sent to a private company in the US. And yeah, I could just simply just say that. But it also is the same thing about like jobs, really. Like, you don't know where they're gonna send the data. Like, we don't know if they're gonna keep your data or simply send that data to someone else, or just simply sell it away. Like, it's kind of like the same with jobs. Like, it's kind of stupid, really. Like, but like overall, absolute like dumbass idea. So yeah, that's everything. Safe.